mercy to save him, which he did. And so the aspiration of a devotee is to have that kind of faith and conviction in Krishna, that he's not disturbed in any situation, but confident and patient and determined to serve the Lord, knowing that by doing so, he'll become closer and closer to that genuine shelter. Like we see here, conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Parikshit Maharaj, he was experiencing some hunger, and he came across a sage, but the sage was in a trance meditating, and it's saying how by providence he became angry and threw a dead snake on the sage to insult him. But the son, seeing that the Maharaj Parikshit went away, and then he started to lament as a devotee, he naturally lamented his wrongdoing. And but the son of this sage saw what happened, and because he was very proud, he began to curse the king. So in those days, because of the purity of their curses would they could have great curses that would have traumatic effects. So this son, he cursed the king to die in 7 days by a snake bite. And so with his purity and potency as a devotee, Maharaj Parikshit could have easily counteracted this curse, but he didn't, and he just saw it as Krishna's mercy. Whatever happens to him is Krishna's mercy. And Krishna's mercy came in the form of him, because he wanted to know how to die. He came across this great sage, Sukadeva Goswami, and sat before him for those 7 days to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which we read every morning, and be enlightened as to what is reality and what is illusion, and beyond that, the Krishna and his pastimes. So we're given opportunity every day to take shelter of the holy name, the beautiful form of the Lord, and discussions on the with Krishna as the subject matter. And in this way, Maharaj Parikshit, he became so in ecstasy hearing about the Lord that he wasn't troubled by hunger or thirst. So for 7 days, so it makes this, puts into perspective his act towards the sage throwing a dead snake on him was just the Lord's arrangement so that Srimad Bhagavatam could be spoken. It's just a mistake that that was not in the nature of Maharaj Parikshit to make as a pure devotee of the Lord. So it's all for our benefit, and this again for our benefit. Parikshit Maharaj is asking for an elaboration of what he's just spoken to Maharaj Ruhugana about this forest of material enjoyment. So material enjoyment is they don't really go well together because one-to-one the soul wants to enjoy forever, but material enjoyment means that because once the soul is seeking enjoyment in the material world where everything is temporary, then he's bound to suffer because he may attain so many sources of enjoyment, but because they disappear due to time and circumstances, then those same sources of enjoyment become acute sources of misery, like a parent whose child dies, or wealth is lost, and so on and so forth. So to avoid going through this again and again, the soul can be awakened by the mercy of this pure devotee, and if his attempts for material enjoyment are exhausted, then he'll take full shelter of that pure devotee to know how to really to know for actually the real source of shelter in this world and the next, by chanting the holy names, and in this way, because of their potency, one can be relish the happiness of such service to the Lord. And in reciprocation, the devotee offers service, and in this way the Lord reciprocates, and the devotee becomes further inspired, and one's faith in the holy name deepens, and how it's the key to everything that the soul could ever wish for, a satisfaction that no amount of material enjoyment can match. It's considered like a drop in the desert, just to evaporate quickly. Whereas the enjoyment of the satisfaction that one experiences in Krishna service, one can never get enough of. So the devotee is always endeavoring to perfect his service, to at least physically, then internally see it as a make it a constant remembrance of Krishna, remembering what he's doing, who's he doing it for, and why. And in this, and it comes to experience also how this is the only solace one can have in the material world. Any other attempt is futile and just brings more misery. So, and it's said how once one is successful in the material, and does go back to Godhead, he does have the opportunity to go back, because free will is always there. But because he remembers it as a bad dream, he doesn't go back, unless he's ordered by the Lord, and for the Lord's pleasure, he'll do anything. So, any comments or questions at this point? Any reflections?
Yeah, just really feeling this sort of grief of that, and just, I don't know, just it's speaking to me about reflecting on moments that I've been caught up in that constantly. You know, something you said about the heart, the hollowness of the heart. I just remember experiencing that in life, and then having those moments where you feel connected to that, you know, connected to Krishna in that way, and go, oh yeah, it's so joyful to keep thinking. Just the pain of the confusion, but it only really comes afterwards when you're confused. When you're in it, like in the fog, it's like you can't tell you're doing it, but that's why it's ignorance, right? You don't know, you can't tell. And it's just, yeah, it really resonates with me. I've really experienced like that, and then pain afterwards of realizing and then going back into it again.
Yes, perpetuous
And the material energy can come in some forms to try and lure us back. She has a better version, just like the iPhone, a better version just to keep the carrot dangling. But yeah, our faith has to be so deep that and knowledge which is based on knowledge has to be so strong that we can be vigilant, sharpen our intelligence with the sword of knowledge, and be vigilant to cut away that illusion and to reveal Krishna more and more in our hearts. And she can come in very subtle ways. If we still have that spirit of enjoyment within us, then we still pray to fall for those allurements in the form of like false pride that we may know so much, or we may be able to do so with the there's fruits or perks in the job of being a devotee, if you like. And if we're not careful, if we have that spirit of enjoyment there, we could, rather than utilize them in Krishna's service, we can use them to try and decorate ourselves with borrowed plumes and lapin adoration and so on. But the devotee, even though he's qualified to be glorified in so many ways, his main ornament of his character is humility.
When you read about actually the two things necessary for spiritual progress, one is understanding that material is very fleeting and flickering and limited and doesn't satisfy the soul, even it gives some thrill to the senses, emotional, etc. And this is what this last couple of chapters and this chapter is all about. But that's not sufficient actually, because the soul is looking for happiness. It's called Anandamaya Abhyasat. The soul is looking for happiness. So if it doesn't find a higher happiness, then it's gonna come back to the material enjoyment. It's like you said about this fog. Okay, we realize at times we may get glimpses, it is foggy, etc. But if you don't find anything better, then that's what all we're gonna have, because then we keep coming back to it. So the idea is to find something better, and that's on one hand it's realizing that material happiness won't satisfy my soul, but on the other hand we need to experience that higher taste of connection with Krishna, spiritual happiness. And then you can become detached from material enjoyment. So these two things are necessary: realization of conditional material life and experiencing of higher taste.
Yeah, there's many souls. Actually, even though this is like the winter season of the universe where forest enjoyment is most graphic, that's considered the best yuga, where people have no suffering, because it gives more of an impetus to take shelter of Krishna, to take shelter, to get that high taste. And be reminded at every step how this world is a dangerous place, and to keep up our practices, to keep up our develop our love, to a point of developing our love for Krishna. And yeah, like that. The devotee is a beggar of the holy name. He's always begging, please give me your mercy. This is all the devotee is made of. So he's begging for that connection. He's begging for that deep connection. So begging for that connection to be so strong that nothing can take it away from him. So only Krishna can give us that understanding that's so deep. And you find because of that higher taste, the devotee isn't want for anything. Like you have the 6 Goswamis who are living under trees, want a tree every day, and they're only sat there and living on one was living on just a little bit of butter every day. That was enough to sustain him. And because the rest of the time they were just relishing, chanting the holy names. Chanting holy names. You with us? Chanting holy names and hearing about Krishna. They're so sweet, pastimes and so on, that one comes to the point where that one doesn't desire anything else. There's nothing better than that. And there's devotees in the spiritual world. They were willing to even to go to hell and experience hellish existence if it made Krishna happy. So that's another level completely. So if we can become so understand our little position, insignificant position in this material world, and become an insignificant dust in the lotus feet of devotees and Krishna. To become dust means one has to be very humble and want their mercy. It's their mercy that we're dependent on their mercy to get anywhere in spiritual life. So by pleasing them, by nice service attitude, always feeling oneself a beggar at the holy name, for it to reciprocate in that way through the devotees. And in this way, the human form, our life in this human form is successful. And that just should be our anxiety. Are we making progress? In our heart, we're just yearning for that pleasure of Krishna, yearning for that mercy to come, so that we can make it another step closer to Krishna. And whatever steps we do make are never lost, because they're on the eternal platform. Krishna gives us that assurance of that. So when we have that in our heart, then that's what will come out. That when we absorb, the more we absorb in Krishna, the more we absorb in the holy name and the nectar of the holy name, the more we associate on the level of Krishna Katha, then the more that spiritual energy, the energy of eternal bliss and knowledge, that will come out and it will have its effect all around the planet. If a little virus can have such an impact on the planet, then what to speak of the potency of the holy name. The more I was speaking to someone yesterday over some mundane driving license issues, and asked the person to say Gauranga. And then all of a sudden they became excited. Immediately, it can have immediate effect. And because it's of a spiritual sound vibration, they took it to heart and were eager to put it into practice. So, and then that person will give it to someone else and someone else. This way, Lord Chaitanya says his name will be chanted in every town and village. So if a mundane virus can have that effect, and so can the holy name. There's forces that are there to, like the forces of ignorance, that keep the living entity covered. So we're in a battle, a war, and a war can be within ourselves, and we'll speak of atheistic forces that strive to keep the living entity covered, material energy, so that one doesn't come out of this material world. But then one can see that that force of that material energy is just giving us tests to see, to show us where we're at and how much more determined we need to be to overcome the illusions that we've acquired for such a long time in this material world. And so seeing this test from Krishna conscious perspective, whatever throws in our way, and if we're Krishna conscious, we can see it as something that leads to suspiciousness. But if we take out Krishna out of the picture, then it can spell inauspiciousness. So we have to be on our guard at all times. So I think I'll stop there. So thank you very much for your attention. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Yeah.